let's catch up a little bit. I think I talked to somebody earlier and we were like, okay, you know, if you look at Industry 4.0, it sounded all so swell and having smart factories, and I think we had this discussions for 10 years already, and look where we're still struggling. Now that bears the question, might this have a similar fate where we have a very, very compelling vision? We do know it does provide value, but then is it technically feasible? Can you actually implement it? Can you make it work? And that's exactly something that our next two speakers have an answer to. On the one hand, Patrick Gehring from Fraunhofer IPK, so next to Architect, one of the most important consortium partners, because they're also a partner in the German Circular Economy Initiative, and we're elementary in the project application. He's also the lead author for the technical guidance and framework. And along with Nico D'Agostino of Circular, who is responsible for the technical demonstrator. Where are you? Here. Well, Patrick is making a start, and then Nico will join later. Welcome.
Great, thank you. Looking back 3 years from now, the battery regulation was still a draft, the ESPR was still a draft, so we basically started from scratch. It was quite obvious to us that interoperability will be the biggest challenge we have to face. And when you listen to some of the definitions of interoperability, it's a little more than just IT systems talking to each other. It's about processes needing to be aligned. It's about organizations sharing information with the help of IT systems supporting that. So in order to better understand of the challenge we're facing, we had a deeper look into the whole value stream. We created an enterprise model, starting from mining refining all the way upstream and later downstream, and mapped where the data we just heard about, the 90 data points, are actually coming from. To understand like who actually needs to communicate with whom, where is the data actually coming from. And we thought about, okay, if it's up to us, if we choose what kind of standards it should be based on that system, what should it look like? What kind of criteria would we choose to evaluate those? We came up with 3 criteria which guided us through the whole process. One was cross-sector interoperability. So, of course, we're a battery fast project, but the DPP system itself needs to work for all the different kind of products coming in further regulations. In order to keep the entry barrier as minimal as possible, we vote for open and non-proprietary standards. And of course, there are standards already used industry-wide which are proven to be working. So we really vouch for standards that can coexist. And all the results of our analysis you can find in our technical guidance document. 3 main highlights I want to point out here. One is the technical standard stack. It's basically a framework describing what kind of standards you need, what kind of modules you need in order to build such a system. We have a first architecture proposal. How could it look like? And we have a set of which we think are the most important challenges that need to be fixed, and recommendations how to do so. Let's have a bird's eye view on what that system could look like. Silke Obst gave a little brief overview earlier already. So we're talking about central systems provided by the European Commission. We're talking about distributed systems operated by the economic operator, storing all the product data. And we're talking about third-party services who act on the economic operator's behalf or are responsible for providing backups of that data. Looks quite simple, but when you dig a little deeper, it gets hard. And a lot of those challenges you heard already, like, for example, we need to exchange data along the value stream, which is not mandated with the battery pass, but you need to do it to get those data. You need data models in order to describe that data. You need to know what's up to date, what dynamic data actually means. Is it really once per day? In order to safeguard DPP data, we need to have robust identity and access management mechanisms in place. And of course, we're not alone in the world. Value chains are global, and we should align on a technical level wherever possible. with different initiatives around the world. So if you look at it, interoperability is not just a buzzword. It's like more like a technical puzzle with different pieces need to fit together. And one part of the puzzle is the actual architecture. Again, here we see central services, distributed services by the economic operator, as well as third-party services. And like the regulation gives us some hints on what kind of parts this system should consist of. We know we have a web portal where you can access this data. We have a registry where the economic data needs to register there. Information, backup services, as well as integration in systems of the European Commission. But it's actually way more. And in order to have a system which is maintainable and operable for the next decades, we need to dig way deeper in what we actually need. And the regulation as it is today is just not enough. And to show you that this is actually working, that this could be up and running, I will hand over to Nico, who will give you a brief overview on how that actually looks like based on software.
Yeah, okay. Okay, just had to be aware of this. So yeah, thank you, Patrick, for these words. So as a clean tech company working on material traceability and DPPs, we are one of the innovators in the project. And now we come to the real techie, nerdy stuff. But don't worry, I try to stay away from too technical terms and try to explain it and to keep it digestible based on common sense. So what we did what was the first step that we have to do in this task to create a technical demonstrator? So first of all, we consumed the output from the first work packages, the content guidance and the technical guidance, which give some ideas how the system should look like and what is inside the battery passport. So first of all, what we have to do is to translate the data points which are in the battery passport described in the content guidance into a way that computers can understand it. So we have to transfer it in a certain language, which is called data models. What we also try to follow is, because we are pretty aware of there are so many different technical solutions, so we try to keep it technical neutral. So that means we try to incorporate many different, what we call it, coexisting data model standards. So there are several ways how you can describe data models. And the idea was to have a single core model, which we described, and different formats can be derived from. So that means even different technical systems can work with the same core data model, but based on their derived data model, and that creates interoperability. As Johannes mentioned before, we identified this individual categories of the data passport. We speak about 90 data points. Actually, there are many more because some of the data points are repeating depending on the amount of materials and amount of hazardous substances which are in the battery. So at the end, we have many more data which have to be structured in a good way. So what we did also in this part of the project is we aligned with other initiatives like the GBA and also Catena-X. So Catena-X is also working on data models. So we try to align with them to make sure that we do not walk in two directions. So that, from my perspective, works very well. And of course, what we always bear in mind is that we not only create a DPP for a battery, but we try to keep it as generic as possible. And so what we did based on the results of Work Package 3, the technical guidance, we created what we call an actual battery passport ecosystem. So the demonstrator itself tried to rebuild what the European Commission is recommending. So we have a central registry where we keep metadata, which works like a yellow pages. When you have an identity, you get the information where the battery passport is stored. The battery passport is stored in different battery passport data repositories. We implemented it in a way that we have really different nodes in the whole battery space to actually find out what the best way to get access to the data. And then the question is, to put into the QR code. And so there are several ways. You can just code the ID in the battery QR code. But that has a problem. If you scan the QR code, you need a dedicated app. And we thought it would be much better to directly scan the QR code with your mobile phone and directly get access. And that would mean you have to include the internet address in this QR code as well. And this is what we did. It points to the registry and then receives the data and show this in the different so in this case, in the Battery Pass viewer, which is also public available, everybody can look at it. In the background, we also developed a management tool which allows some of our partners to create their own battery passports and also to update dynamic data. And also what we did is to update the dynamic data during the lifetime of the battery. You can see it at the Lego demonstrator. So there we have a station where we can update the battery. The later thing that we also did and what we try to implement it is this identity and access management. So we show you some examples. There were some questions to Silke Obst how this can be implemented. We implemented 2 different ways, and I'm happy to show this to you later in the coffee break. And then, of course, the whole topic of data validation and verification is very important. People need to trust what is inside the DPP, and there are some technical means which could be implemented that, from our perspective, works pretty well. So coming to the actually software development. So this is the viewer, which is available for more than 1 year. If you scan that QR code, you should see the actual battery passport at your mobile phone. You can scan through it, and so you can also access it via a web page. You can enter the battery passport ID that brings you to kind of a landing page, which gives you an overview about the general information in the battery, the most important ones like the carbon footprint, the recycled content, and of course also the state of health. You can then also go deeper into the actual sections of the battery passport, the 7 categories. For each category, we have a dedicated area so that you maximum need 2 to 3 clicks to get to all the information. So we put it into a very structured way that it's easy to access, easy to consume, not too many clicks, and have everything more or less at one page. Yeah, and last but not least, what we also intended to do is to bring this rather abstract concept of a DPP into a more tangible way. And the idea was, and our partner Fireware has a good experience on that, we created a Lego model of the actual value chain. So what is a value chain? Not everybody really knows it, what's included. And we put it into a Lego model, and we connected the Lego model also to the software demonstrator. So we have some information, so we can demonstrate with some LEDs where is data going into the battery passport, at which station in the life cycle data from the battery passport is actually consumed. We also show how the individual materials of the battery are actually flowing through the complete value chain. You see here a model of a battery cell composed by anode, cathode, electrolyte, and terminator. So the different colors of the bricks shows the different materials, and you see the individual bricks digging out graphite or cobalt from the mine site. You can see that those bricks are putting together at the cell producer, and this gives a much better overview even for non-experts to consume and to understand a little bit what's behind that. And of course, I'm happy to invite you to look at the Lego demonstrator, and I will also be there to answer some questions. Yeah, thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Nico and Patrick. 2 very quick questions in the room. Yes, please, use your microphone, press the red button.
Hi, thanks so much. I'm Amy from BSF. I just have a question about what kind of measures have been taken to circumvent the challenges of potential phishing or malware hacking attacks on hampering a QR code.
Yeah, so what we're doing is actually we are making use of already existing technology. So the data transfer is we're using HTTPS, so a secured standard. We also put in some means with making sure that the consumer of the battery knows where the batteries actually come from by using public-private key mechanisms. So we save a hash in the registry. When we load the data from the original source and the hash is not fitting, we flag, we have a red flag where we can show, be careful, this battery is not verified. We do the same also for the data points. So some data points, important data points, get additional information, some digital seals, which are broken if the data was not the original data. And there are a couple of other means we put in place to make sure that the data is secure. And there are a lot of technology. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, so we just have to take what is already existing.
One more question back there, please.
Thanks. I hope you can hear me. So first of all, it's regarding access control, and the way you implemented this is very good. So I like the two options which you have. Have you considered taking into or going into conversations with the experts from DG GROW regarding the eIDAS 2.0? Regulation which is ongoing? Yeah, that's my main question in regards of roles and responsibilities, because you have already the technical version, but yeah, have you considered the roles and responsibilities in regards of eIDAS 2.0?
I remembered some conversation in that direction, but I'm not sure. I look to Thomas if he can maybe say
Quick
something
answer,
to that.
Thomas.
eIDAS 2.0 was already, let me say, in our, let me say, consideration. Oh, sorry, yeah. And and it's now went into the activities of the standardization under CENELEC, JTC 24. It's about the digital product passport framework and system. And currently in one of the working groups, very, let me say, intensively discussed how to integrate, because at least the issue of the identification is very problematic, because in all the other technology areas, we can foresee coexistence of standards. As you could see in the presentation, there were several different data management methodologies to be applied. With the identification issue, it means with the eIDAS and all the security issues, is a little bit more problematic. So I don't think that I'm able or allowed now to talk, oh, it will be eIDAS 2.0 or not. Yeah? But this is currently under consideration in the standardization work.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot once again, Thomas, for providing some answers. I know that also Thomas will be part of the next panel, but has an appointment afterwards, so we'll have to speed up things here. Thanks a lot, Nico and Patrick, for this insight.
Thank you.